I can't believe this. At least I didn't hire any Cougs. It could be worse. It can always be worse. All right. Welcome back to Right as Rain. It's very nice to be back to talk about our Seattle Reign Football Club as we get nearer and nearer to the regular season. Thank God. It sucks just kind of being in this like awkward preseason. We're not doing anything real yet kind of thing. For I don't know, it doesn't matter for me to say this because by the time that you are watching this, it will be Tuesday. We're going to talk about a few things in this week's episode. Obviously, the Reign had the Coachella Valley Invitational. They had two matches there. Talk a little bit about that just because the first match streaming was kind of funky. And then we got the second match, which was better. Veronica Latsko suffered an injury. We'll get to that. There's a new kit, the new secondary kit, which is growing on me swiftly, and that will not be good for my eventual bank account. Um, the secrecy part is that the club has a new anthem that will be out by the time that this episode is out. Um, and we get closer and closer to the regular season, so we have to take a look at the roster inevitably. I am Charles Hamaker. We've got Becca to my side here. Bella is down there. Um, did I point right? I did. Okay. I want to make sure. God bless these two for dealing with me. All right. So yeah, no, we'll get into it. It's sad. I keep looking at the Veronica injury and getting sad. So the two preseason matches, I think Bella saw most of what took place in the preseason, right? So I might have to go with you a little bit more because I know Becca and I were kind of looking for something for the first one and it was hard to find. I know BFC has since posted highlights, but it's, not the same. Um, yeah, Bella, what did you think about the two preseason matches? I mean, it's nice to see some of your newer faces and Lynn Biondolo and Maddie Darlene get on the score sheet, right? What did you take from those two matches as we're kind of wrapping up the preseason? They've still got a friendly to play against UW coming up, which is kind of cool. But yeah, what did you take away from that?
Yeah, I also couldn't watch much of the BFC game, unfortunately. I did manage to see a highlight of Lynn Biondolo's goal. And what I really liked about that was it looked kind of like there was a scramble in front of the goal. It hit quite a few players, and she was basically the one to hit it into the back of the net, which may seem somewhat insignificant. However, I think there were a lot of situations last year where on a corner kick or something, there was some sort of frenzy in front of the goal and it should have been scored, and there wasn't someone to put the final touch on it and actually get it in the back of the net. So even if Lynn Biondolo functions just like your poacher striker who is there to just finish those kinds of opportunities, I think that's really massive and something that the Reign have been missing. I also think she scored in the preseason game before that that was behind closed doors against Spokane Zephyr FC. Um, so I think it's just really great to see her clicking so fast with the team and immediately scoring goals. Not that there was necessarily a question that Lynn Biondolo would score goals. It's Lynn Biondolo. However, it's really good to see. I also thought that getting a clean sheet was great. That's certainly something they struggled with last year. Um, with the Angel City match, they conceded at the very end. Like it wasn't quite stoppage time, but it was almost stoppage time. And at that point, half of the players on the field were like trialists and other players who may or probably won't make the roster. And there had been a lot of changes. So I think you can not necessarily ignore that they conceded that goal in the Angel City game, but not put too much stock into it just because there had been so many changes. And then Maddie Darlene was just absolutely fantastic. She went ahead and just sprinted at the center back, dispossessed her, took it all the way, and finished. Um, it is fantastic to see such clinical finishing from a 21-year-old, 20-year-old. I don't know how old she is. She was at the U20 World Cup, so she must be either 20 or 21. Um, and she's 2020. Okay, they were gonna say 22 for a second. I was like, no. Um, and so it was great that she was so clinical on that chance. And I think just the speed from, seeing her and Emery play together, I think the team has been missing speed in the past. And Lynn Biondolo talked about it when we saw her on the first day of preseason, is that this team has really great midfielders who are very adept at sending brilliant through balls. And they just haven't always had the player to run in behind and stretch the back line and get on those balls. Lynn provides that, Maddie provides that. Emery provides a little bit of that, but she also provides great creativity on the wing and, just a lot of youthful energy. Like, feels very Energizer Bunny vibes. Like, she is not going to give up. She wants to make a difference. I think Norelia Mondesir was also a bright spot that we haven't necessarily seen the best of yet, but I think we're starting to see how she can connect with the other forwards and sort of make a difference as not somewhere between the attacking and the midfield lines. It's not totally clear where she's going to play. Um, some other interesting things. They tried out Phoebe McClernon as a six for part of the Angel City preseason game, um, which I'm not opposed to. It's certainly a position where they are lacking. Uh, they I'd be surprised if they ended up playing with a lone six at any point this season because they just don't have any players who are quite capable of that yet. And, we saw back when Emily Sonnet was still with the club, Olivia Vanderyacht would play really well with her as sort of a double six. And I think if you can find someone to pair with Olivia Vanderyacht, that's a really great option. And it was great to see Olivia play so many minutes. She looked really healthy. She looked in form, which is just great to see after missing her for so much of last season. But yeah, definitely the the Phoebe McClernon at the six it'll be interesting because when we saw Laura Harvey play Emily Sonnet as a six in a preseason match, we then saw her pretty quickly do that in the regular season. Will be curious to see if this was really just testing Phoebe in that position, or if this is Phoebe, this is your first chance to do it, and you will be doing more of it. Because now that they have more defensive depth this year, they do have the option to move her, and she does have really great distribution skills. And is a very strong defender. So I think, certainly, ooh, my headphone fell out. Um, anytime we see players like moved from one position to the defensive midfielder position, it is typically a center back who is being adjusted and having their position changed. Julia Ertz, Emily Sonnet was the same. So, and clearly Laura had great success with moving Emily Sonnet there. I still to this day think it's her best position. I think it was one of her best seasons. So, a lot of interesting things, and I think just a lot of exciting things from those preseason matches.
I'll never forget how Laura shared with us that Emily asked her to make her the best six in the world. Like that'll always be something that will be really cool to me. Yeah, Becca, were you able to catch any of any of that, or was it just kind of tough with how they tried to stream these pre? Because at least for me, trying to, I swear, I told Becca I was like, I'm recording the Bay FC game per my Xfinity, and then later in the day, seeing that they were putting the Seawolves games on, which yay! But also, wanted to watch that one. So did you catch any of that or no?
Unfortunately, no, I wasn't able to watch either, but it's nice to know that there were some positive outcomes of the matches. But
Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't able to watch, unfortunately.
No, that's tough. And thankfully, again, we'll get closer to the regular season and we'll not have to worry about stuff like the stream that's being labeled as a rain stream, not really being a rain stream. Um, yeah, I think my biggest takeaway from what I saw with those two was purely Maddie Darlene. Like, like I fully expected Lynn Williams to be a contributor, so that's not shocking to me. As Bella mentioned, it's nice to see that click, that early sort of chemistry. Obviously, that will continue to be built through the course of the season. Um, but Maddie Darlene was always fascinating to me with they brought in Emily Mason, and I think it was her and Emily Mason at the same time, right? And Maddie Darlene just kind of stuck out more to me. Um, so I don't know. I think she'll be really fun. Like I was telling Becca, I think she'll be someone that really makes an impact on the club this year. Um,
And Scott Parkinson agrees with you. He
yeah,
told us on when we saw him on Friday, it was a very hush, like, you better watch out for Maddie Darlene.
well, that was something that's right. You were talking about the speed. I think that's something he mentioned as well. Was like this is a club that should have a lot of speed. And I was like, interesting. Very, very cool. Um, yeah, good old Scott. What a lad he is in his thick accent. Um, speaking of speed, we'll get into the Veronica thing. That's just kick in the teeth. Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of the stuff with the preseason was pretty solid. Happy to see the club get into these matches, play these club, play. Obviously, as Bella mentioned, there was the behind closed doors one against Spokane, but it was behind closed doors. So tough to kind of get too much from that outside of, whatever the club put out itself. Um, but the Bay FC one was tough because Veronica, I believe it was the second half of the match, came out and kind of feared the worst, and the club confirmed the worst. Back on the 26th, it was announced that Veronica had torn her Achilles tendon and will be placed on season-ending injury list. Yeah, that's tough. And it's tough, not only if you're going to look at purely at the sport to lose someone who, when Bella was talking about, it's funny because I can take what like Bella's explanation, and I've got little bullet points in all of them. Um, Talking about like when you were talking about how defenders would play a certain role, you could tell that they might be playing that. Like I remember seeing in training, they'd put Veronica out wide defensively, and I was like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And then of course we saw that with Sophia, Sophia's loan. Um, like her versatility is big. Her Veronica's just always been someone, at least in my opinion, who just does the work. She doesn't really care what they do with her, starting off the bench, super sub, doesn't play any minutes, whatever the hell it is. Veronica will do it. Veronica's been someone that over the years, last few years covering this club, like that all like hammers the culture home. When I think of the culture of this club, obviously I think of the two OGs that remain in Jess and Lou, right? I think of Lou maybe a little bit more just because I talk to her more. But like the next one to me outside of that is Veronica because she talked about how this club effectively saved her career, right? In a lot of different ways. And in one press conference, I think it was last year, she nearly broke down in tears because of that. I think if you'll remember that, Bella, like
Yeah.
Veronica's huge to this, in my opinion. She's a big part of this. And then as we talked about at the event that we'll mention later, um, the whole playoff run to get to the title match a few years ago doesn't happen without Veronica Latsko and a little bit of magic. But, a lot of that is Veronica Latsko. So, yeah, this is tough for a myriad of different reasons. Um, in the official release, Laura mentioned being gutted for her, understandably so. You know, um, it's just tough. I mean, joining the club in 22 and then obviously making this much to the team and its fan base is pretty big. Um, yeah, it's really tough. Someone who registered what 15 goals and 7 assists um through her 108 regular season matches with the club. So, Um, it just seems like they're doing whatever they can to take care of her now. This is going to be a long recovery, so that's tough. Um, but on the business side of things, you kind of wonder, okay, who's going to fill that role? What do they do now? Since we had Bella talk first last time, and because it was just Bella, we'll go to Becca, and then Bella, I want to hear from you just your thoughts on the injury and what the club might figure out if it's just hey we're gonna go and sign one of our trialists or what because they've got some roster spaces if I'm correct but also you have to consider later on you've got Lily coming back you've got Sophia coming back And Ryan Brown has to come back from season-ending injury as well. So it's like that's later on to think about. But I don't know. Becca, your thoughts on Latsko, and then Bella will get you too.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, obviously very tough to lose somebody like that. I think I'm sure we all remember in 2023 those two goals. That's immediately what I think of when I think of her. So, um, that's it's definitely tough, and I'm hoping that like with the depth that they have on the team that they'll be able to fill that hole. But it is a big hole to fill. And I think I'm not entirely sure what they're thinking to do. My original thought was like um not like one single person, but like maybe leaning on a few different people to be able to fill that. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what they're gonna do. But yeah, definitely sad for her. And I saw her if you guys saw her Instagram post, I think it was a couple of days ago, she was just talking about the injury. And it seemed like she had a good outlook on things, which was nice. And obviously very hard to do in that situation when that happens to you. But yeah, hoping hoping for the best for the coming season for her.
Yeah, I mean the good news for the Reign is that just because she's injured doesn't mean she's not around. She is a very motivating and encouraging personality. So I think, if you think about back to like major throwback when Tobin Heath was with the club and she played only one game, she was injured most of the time, but Laura would talk about sort of the knowledge that she brought. So even if she was just at training, it was valuable to have her. So even if Veronica is just around there for maybe younger players to lean on, she's still a very valuable part of the club. In terms of on the field, from a very cynical business perspective, it's good that the injury happened in preseason and not later. They have some time to adjust. They have some time to figure out what options they have. It's also it's not the smallest forward pool that they've had. It's not the deepest forward pool that they have, but it's not had the forward pool been even smaller, it would have been an even more massive hit. And in no way is that disrespecting or denigrating what Veronica brings, because I do think she's a brilliant player. And I would be very sad to not see her. But now that you know, she's not going to be there, you have to start thinking about the next steps. You have to basically be like, well, she's not going to play. There's nothing we can do about it. We have to move on from that for this year. And the good thing is that they have a lot of options. I think I'm excited to see Emery take a jump in her second year. We talked to her at the event,
Mhm.
and she seemed more sure of herself than she had in the past.
I'd
She
agree with
seemed
that.
very confident and excited to get into her second year. She talked about being kind of surprised that there was a jump between her first and second year. Um, which, maybe that's just sort of youthful naivete, but I think they've got more options now. And the good thing is they have a lot of forwards who are very versatile.
Hmm.
Lynn Williams, you can play as a nine, you can play her as a wing. Jordan Heidema, you can play her as a nine, you could play her more as a withdrawn nine. I think it's very possible we'll see some sort of situation where Jordan Heidema is a double nine with someone and sort of drops back as a false nine to help set play. Maddie Darlene can also, I imagine, play as a nine or on the wing. Norelia Mondesir, another option. So I think Laura Harvey has a good amount of players and versatile players to find a solution.
Mm.
Because certainly part of the problem we'd seen in previous years is the team got very reliant on crosses.
Oh yeah.
And once teams figured that out, it was pretty easy to stop them. Um, you know, as much as Megan Rapinoe is a brilliant player, when the team was very reliant on her and Sofia Huerta just sending in crosses, it's eventually easy to stop because that's the main thing they're going to.
And hoping that Bethany Balcer would connect for headers at that point.
Right. So I think there's a lot of good options this year to play around with different formations and confuse defenses a little more and just be a little bit more unpredictable than they've been in the past. I think Laura talked about that at preseason.
Yep.
Um,
I was like, wow, okay, Laura quote.
I mean, they when the crossing was like the thing they did, the team was very aware of it.
Yeah.
There was no there was no question about it. Um, but you have so many midfielders who are almost like attackers, particularly G and Jess, and even a bit of Sam Meza. You have and Maddie Mercado as well, actually. You
Hmm.
have a lot of those players who want to get forward, and so you have a lot of options for interchanging those attacking midfielders or and forwards, or playing them in different positions. I mean, Jess and G, we know are going to roam all over the freaking place. That's what they do. That's what Laura lets them do, and I have no issue with it. Let them go wherever they want. Um, so absolutely gutted for Veronica. She is a wonderful human. She will be missed on the field. She will be incredibly valuable off the field.
Hmm.
But in terms of straight up looking at the roster, the situation is not as dire as it could have been had this injury happened a different year.
Yeah.
And I think that's just really the only positive of this. There's no positives to injuries, um, but it could have hurt the team more than I think it will this time around. But hopefully we'll see her back next year, able to play and contribute on the field, because she is just a very wonderful human who is a joy to watch play because she truly will never give up on any ball ever.
Sorry.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. No, I haven't touched these because they look too cool, and I don't really drink anyway. Where are we gonna put you? We're gonna put you right there. Um, yeah, I mean, it's tough. Just the human being side of things, like being at the stuff that she's done with Agape Adoptions, right? Like at the Rough and Tumble event where that came from. So, you know, it's really tough in that regard. But if you need someone to work really hard to get back from something, Veronica Latsko is that person. So, um, yeah, no, I mean it's interesting, and I was thinking about this, Bella, when we were at that event at KXP, because again, like I told Scott Parkinson, I just want to get going. I'm tired of waiting. I need rain season to start, like especially since our new graphics are ready. I'm ready to use those. I hated last year and not having ones that looked good. Um, yeah, I'm sitting here looking at least on the preseason roster that the club has sent out because it's not like we've gotten an update on that. And so you go from seven forwards on this list to six with Latsko out. I imagine that they've narrowed their goalkeeper list down to three because of what we saw, Bella.
Yeah.
Because obviously you've got Claudia Dickey, you've got Cassie Miller, and it looked like Maddie Prohaska from I just had it up. I think she's from Auburn. No. Sorry, I have to make sure. I only know this because of her hair. Her hair was like
She did
poof.
have, yeah.
And Prohaska, yeah, from Auburn, like her Auburn picture is her hair poof. And the other goalie on the roster that was listed was Macy Enneking, and her hair is not that way. So I don't know how much you want to judge off of a preseason event, but I feel like that's your third keeper, personally.
It would be a little surprising if you have her show up in her own goalkeeper jersey and then you're not signing her. What Jeffrey Lageson from Prost America,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Told us is that there may be a date they have to wait to sign her, something to do with paying trialists versus another thing. It wasn't totally clear.
Yeah.
But there may be a very technical reason she hasn't been signed yet. And they're just sort of waiting for the right time to do it, and it's not that they haven't decided.
You can come hang out. You're not official yet, but you can come hang out with us. Yeah. Um, so no, I mean I put this in here, and Bella's talking about the roster is perfect for this because um you know what, it's 22 minimum players, 26 maximum players for roster size in the NWSL for 2025. Um, and you've got your injured players who will injured and loan players. Sorry, that's mean to just call them all injured when it's not actually true. Who will come back and will need roster spots. Three of them are defenders. I don't know. I guess this is kind of to ask how you feel about the roster because I think, and Bella and I were talking about this. There's no set date for when roster decisions have to be made, are there? Or it's just you need to be ready to go by match one. Like, is there a time? And I asked Bella this because Bella does a lot of the like league like footprint stuff already. So I was like, hey, when do they need to know this by?
Yeah, let me I'll
Oh,
do a little double checking, Googling. I'm pretty sure I assume it's similar to the WNBA, where basically you just need to have a roster that is compliant by the first day. Um,
because yeah, I mean,
and
otherwise, looking around, the league footprint provided by the league doesn't say anything about it, and I'm like, well, you guys should know, I hope. Um, Yeah, Bella, I'll let you look that up and I'll keep going here. We'll start. Oh no, I started with Becca. No, actually, we'll start with Becca again because you're looking that up. I mean, how are you feeling about this roster? Because yeah, you've got. I imagine again we're kind of going forward with the idea that they've got the three keepers, and it felt like the third one was somewhat irrelevance, not the correct word. That's mean. I feel like that's wrong, but it probably won't have too much of an impact on the course of the season, right? When you've got Dickey, who has asserted herself as your top keeper, and Cassie Miller, who's a veteran, defenders. It's nice to have that depth when you've got still Lou back. You'll get Ryan, Sophia, and Lily back in different capacities, right? To sign a young defender like Maddie Curry in the offseason is really fun. Um, the midfield, and I have to say this because I feel bad over the episodes we've done. I've forgotten about some players. Like the fact that, you know, mostly the forwards, I haven't talked enough about Coco or about Anna Marina Crnogorcevic, right? Like I think Bella said that in the preseason piece, like about not maybe making an impact or the impact anyone, her or the club, whatever. Like to have a full off season with the club and to start off with them because they came in right after the sale had gone through and you're trying to help this club that really struggled all year, right? It just wasn't an ideal situation. And I'm really like inspired to see them and what they can do over the course of a full season. Like to be able to play with an Emery Adamas with speed like that and talent like that, that I think Laura said all season just needed to work on the finishing aspect, right? To just put the final little touch on there. To have her on there and like Bella said, make a leap. Anna Maria Sarnagorcevic, who has played all over the world, right? Maddie Darlene, who like Emery Adamas, has that speed, could be a lot of fun. Jordan Heidema has played over the world, still very young, which I forget. Um, and has had her like a lot. There were a lot of storylines about her towards the end of this year. Oh, she hasn't scored a lot, and I'm like, yeah, well, not many people in this club have. Um, Coco, who like I remember that rumored deal and all the talent that she's got, right? And then at the very end of it is Lynn Biondolo, who I mentioned like that's a ton of talent forward wise. So I'll shut up. But yeah, I don't know, Becca, how do you feel about this roster just with where it sits now? I know things can change, right? And there's still a handful of non-roster invitees, right? Like Sally Menti was one that was kind of interesting to me. Um, but yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about this roster? And then Bella, we'll go to you.
Yeah, again, I wish I could have watched the preseason games to maybe have some stronger opinions, but right now, I guess based on what Bella said, I'm feeling excited about a lot of the versatility that it sounds like we have. It at least now it like appears that a lot of those holes and problems that were happening a lot like towards the end of last season are like moving towards being fixed, which excites me. Um, I think a lot of the young talent also is pretty cool to see. I'm hoping people will be able to step up in different roles, and maybe try some people out in different places. But I think in general, for right now, I'm feeling optimistic that I'd say hesitant but optimistic that like a lot of the problems that we had been facing last season will start to we'll start to see changes there.
So I did confirm. The regular season begins Friday, March 14th. Roster compliance must be received by the league by 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday, March 12th. So just a couple
Okay,
days before the start of the season.
that makes sense.
Um, in terms of the roster, I do think it's a little defense heavy. I think it's been a concern of mine for a couple of months now. Um,
11
at the
defenders? What do you mean? No.
at the same time, if we're gonna say see Phoebe McClernon move up into the six, and knowing how much running Laura wants her outside backs to do up and down the wing, contributing to the attack, um, you know, I think they might need the depth there.
Hmm.
Um, it'll be interesting, so they do have the option to sign some short-term contracts um, to fill in spots before players return, and then have those spots open back up. So we may see a couple trialists sign those kinds of short-term contracts. Something that, again, Jeffrey had mentioned when we were at the event was the possibility of Sofia Huerta moving back up top when she returns. If that's something they need, that's something she did for a lot of her career and she's very
Hmm.
capable of. So if it ends up being that they have a lot of defensive depth and the defense is playing really well, um, I would not hate to see her in midfield or fully up top. Um, it'll be interesting to see who gets the defensive minutes as a result, because there are only Laura really is only one to play with four defenders. I'd be shocked if she went to some sort of three back system with wings. Um, it would be it would certainly be a change for her. Um, so it'll be very interesting to see who gets those minutes with so many players in that particular rotation. There are some who I'm relatively certain would not be um, getting many minutes, but I'm not entirely certain either who will get the minutes. I think Madison Curry and Shea Holmes were really good in the preseason games. I think we saw a lot of growth overall from Shea Holmes in the last season. Um, and I'm excited to see more of her. I think Phoebe McClernon would be a very solid, set in stone starter if it weren't for the fact that she might be the six instead. Um, so
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things that I think we won't know until we actually see it. Um, but I do, in the like last year when they kind of didn't have enough defenders and they ended up moving forwards back to play defense, which is functionally what Veronica Latsko did after Sofia Huerta left. I don't think not that went horribly, but I do think it showed in some of the defensive mistakes and just the lack of continuity in the defense. So hopefully they can have a bit more of a set defense this year so that they can be very solid in their communication with each other and the
Mm,
goalkeeper and hopefully prevent uh not score not sorry, not concede as many goals as they did last year.
yeah.
Um so then it just becomes who's getting minutes and are there other players beside Phoebe who are going to be moved into slightly more forward roles um to fill those spaces. So, like six forwards isn't a lot, but it is still enough where you could functionally sub out your entire attacking line
Hmm.
in a game if you wanted. Um, so I think it'll just be there's no like major holes other than the six, um, which again, maybe Phoebe McLaren really is the answer there. I don't know. Like I'm very fascinated to see. Um, but
I'm
other than that, guys,
surprised you haven't said Jordan Bugg's name once.
oh my God. Oh my God, you're
See,
right.
that's what, and I'm gonna hijack you here for a second because, like, I'm gonna go back to what Becca said. I'm optimistic, maybe because I'm just a fool, but generally because, like, I don't need to talk about the goalkeepers because Claudia's a rock there. I'm not worried about that. Like, to have Lauren Barnes back, feels weird saying her full name. Sorry, Lou Barnes back. I don't like. Yeah, this I'm just used to calling her Lou. Have Lou Barnes back, hopefully with over the hump with whatever injury that she was dealing with last year that continuously bothered her, right? To get Ryan Brown back eventually, I don't know when that's going to be. I don't think we have a date. Did we ever get a timeline? No, no. Okay, so no
We have
timeline.
not been given a timeline,
So
no.
I'm going to operate without thinking about the three defenders that you're missing right now. So effectively, you have eight defenders, which is still a decent amount, right? Jordan Bug, who has gotten all the I almost said criticism wrong, all of the hype and praise from Laura Harvey and from her teammates, and
And
she's
me.
she's still, well, yes, is still effectively a child, right? Madison Curry, who is young and talented, and like, did we ever? Is there any reason we know why she left Angel City?
I don't think there was any, I don't know if there was anything in particular. Certainly that club has issues
It's
off and on.
issues. Yeah,
But she may have just been offered more money by the Reign. It's really,
sure.
or like a or more of a prominent position. It's really hard to know. That Angel City also, I believe, still does not have a coach yet.
Oh yes, that's right. Because when
Because
they streamed
Sam
the
Lady
preseason
was the
match, it was Sam
interim
Lady.
coach, and their GM is Mark Parsons. So that could, it could just be sort of the uncertainty of that franchise, which
Yeah,
we saw
and
affect the Reign the previous offseason. So
oh yeah. Well, all that to say is the Reign came up with getting Madison Curry. Like that is a positive. Hannah Glass was interesting to me as a veteran, as you talked about with her when we heard from her at this event, and generally like someone who retired from international play to focus on her club play, right? So, I mean, I'm not gonna complain about having a veteran like that on the roster. Shea Holmes, looking at you, Becca. No. Shea
Just kidding.
Holmes, who has shown well last year, right? And like talking about a bump is encouraging, and I'm sure she'll have fun again when the Reign and UW do that friendly later this week. They actually during this recording they've posted about it, so that's fun. They heard me speaking. The voices are getting louder. Julia Lester's tough for me because she's a veteran. I'm sure she could get more minutes on another club, but when we're mentioning all these players, she kind of goes down on the depth chart, right? Emily Mason, I haven't seen enough to really make a like much of a conclusion or give, as Becca mentioned earlier, a stronger opinion. Like, don't have one. I could be proven wrong. Make me look fucking stupid. It happens all the time. I waited till later in the episode to swear. Um, Phoebe McLernan, I've felt a lot better about Phoebe McLernan after last year. Like when
she
she
was
first came
fantastic.
in, Bella like had me like scared to death about
She had a tendency to pick up yellow and red cards, okay?
that one loves to tackle, doesn't she?
No,
Like
remember, I think it was like the last game of the season, and they were worried, or like one game when they were worried that Phoebe was going to like get suspended for getting her fifth yellow card. And like Laura just came, or no, she got a yellow early in the game, and Laura came to us after and was like, "Yeah, I'm really shocked. Like Phoebe didn't pick up a second yellow and get like kicked out of the game."
so yeah. Um I feel a lot better about Phoebe McLernan going forward is my point. Midfield, I don't have too much to say on the because they've got two non-roster invites here listed, right? And Sophia Sedano and Sally Menti. I've heard great things about Sally Menti. Don't know enough about Sophia Sedano. I'm sorry.
She looked
Specifically
decent
Menti
in
because of
the
how good Santa Clara has been. Huh?
Sedano looked decent in the preseason game. She got some, I want to say like 20, 30 minutes to get against Angel City.
She's a Bruin. Ugh. Well, Lou would like that, I'm sure. Um, it'll be really fun to see what Jess Fishlock does in what unofficially could be her final year, right? I'm sure she'll be more than motivated to close things out well and do better. than what last year. If there's someone who's gonna be pissed off about what happened last year, it's the tiny
It's
dragon.
it's
Like
yep, it's gonna be that
so.
Welsh dragon.
Speaking of Welsh, has very intrigued to see what Haz's role is this year. Because she came in and it seemed like she would effectively be an important piece here, and then she just kind of faded, you know. So we'll see. Ainsley McCammon, another of the young and exciting children on this roster. Like that was something that I want to talk about when we get to the kids. And I know we got to get going, so I'll get there, I promise. Really interested with what her role is, and I feel like she might be someone that pushes like a has out of a role. Could be. Like there was a lot of good talk about Ainsley McCammon last season, right? Maddie Mercado. When Becca and I started this show, I expressed my belief in Maddie Mercado. They did bring her back. It's gonna be tough for her, right? I feel like to get minutes. I don't know. It's possible, and also tough because of other young midfielders like Sam Meza, who is on this list, right? Um, G, G gave us like all of the really exciting goals last year, outside of a few, right? Seeing her and Jess rip teams to shreds will be really fun this year. And Olivia Vanderyacht, you get Olo back. I know someone has commented on our stuff earlier in the preseason. I think when we got back to media training, they go, "What about Olo?" I'm like, "Well, she's training." I think I asked Laura, and she's like, "Well, she's training. She's here." Like, so I think they're operating as if everything's all good to go now. So
She played significant minutes during the preseason game.
good. Okay. Yeah. So feel like we're good now. We're good to go, right? And then the forwards are, we've already kind of talked about the forwards. So yeah, that leads me into our other, well, there was also the hiring of the assistant coach, Lee Nguyen. I will put that in there because we didn't talk about it and I don't want to leave that stone unturned. He's had a really fun soccer like journey. It's very fascinating to go through a 17-year career spent in the MLS and overseas. Um, helped yeah, helped the Spirit win the 2021 NWSL championship. Um, was spent time with KC and then I think most recently Angel City.
Yeah.
So it's a fun pickup. I'm excited to be around him more. I don't know if he's as fun and as bald as Scott, but
Well, he
not everyone
plays
can be.
pickup soccer with Scott.
Okay, so he gets a bump up then.
Yeah.
All right. Let's keep moving. I gotta keep moving. I want to make sure we stay on schedule here. The Rise kit. I have to say, I was nervous when I was told by a friend of mine that there was a new secondary coming. You said it was bland. You s- Comparatively, I'm putting Bella on the spot.
I
This is not bland to me. I really like enjoyed seeing this kit. And like I feel like it's simplistic, but it does enough to not be boring. Like
yeah.
I'm gonna say it. I didn't like last year's secondary. Didn't like
Yeah,
it. Thought it
it was
was
a
kind of
gradient
like
template. It was like the same one everyone had.
I just didn't like it. Um, this one to see the sort of sun ideal, about rising over the cascade. Like the details get me all excited because you talk about mountains and shit, and that's what we're here for. Well, not here for, but this is what this came from, right? About how the Rise kit is supposed to mirror the Pacific Northwest sun rising over the Cascades, illuminating the beauty of the Salish Sea and Olympic Mountains. I'm fucking sold. Like, let's go. Um, so that's really cool to see this. The media day stuff they did, thanks to Jordan Heidema, because she does these day in the lives now, and she took us into her experience where they had like, there's these photos where they have them sitting on the crossbar, and I'm like, oh, okay. Um, I'll get to the more important stuff. The Don't feature the Black Future Co-op Fund as the front of jersey sponsor, um, which is interesting. They're continuing their search for the right partners. So obviously, before match one, I'm imagining they'll have something there. Like, do they not have to?
there's no requirement to have a front of jersey sponsor. I believe they
Okay.
played all of last season without a front of jersey sponsor, unless I'm mistaken.
I swear they had the Black Coop. I thought they had the Black Future Forward Fund. I just
I don't
said
think they've
fluff, 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 fluff.
I don't think they've had that since Rapinoe's last season.
Am I wrong? No, they
Um,
did. Yeah, they did.
okay.
Okay.
So
You had
maybe
me
they
scared there. I thought I was losing my mind more than I know I am.
yeah,
Um,
but there's no
okay.
requirement, and it
Interesting.
certainly is a large monetary loss for the club.
Yeah.
Because front
So,
of jersey sponsors are a huge source of income for them. Um, and so it is interesting that, I mean, the search has been ongoing for kind of like 2 years at this point.
yeah. Well, because I feel
Um,
like they brought the Black Future Co-op Fund back kind of last minute last year.
yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. Like, why did it take this long? Like, were you looking for someone else?
Yeah.
Um,
And I believe their goal is to help Black Future Co-op Fund raise money. So I don't believe they're getting any money from Black Future Co-op Fund. It's supposed to benefit the Black Future Co-op Fund, not the
yeah.
other way around.
So Bella was basically reading what I was going to read. The
Sorry.
Reign will continue their partnership with that Washington nonprofit, donating a minimum of $10,000 from the first 30 days of jersey sales to the Black Future Co-op Fund. They're also launching a Rise Purpose platform alongside this new jersey, which will work to advance three commitments. All right, count with me, okay? Advance equity for all in play and life. That's very general. Protect the Salish Sea. Hell yeah, brother. And then champion and affirm the power of girls, women, and gender diverse people. I can get the fuck behind that. Sorry, I'm starting to just lose it. Um, so that's really cool. It does seem like there's a lot more purpose behind this kit, which I really do like. Um, it's nice. It's really cool to be in this city that has a lot of really good kits, up and down, whether it's the pro teams, and then you go to like the Salmon Bay. Like there's a lot of good stuff going on around here. Um, so uh I don't we haven't gotten this, so I'll probably have to edit this in later. That this part of the episode is me and Brit nope, I almost called you Brittany Davis. You are not Brittany Davis.
No.
You don't have musical talent like that. I'm sorry.
I actually do have
Um,
musical talent, but I am not blind nor black.
I don't think you've got her talent.
I didn't say I have her talent. I said I have some musical talent. Okay. I did choir for
Oh,
like
yes.
years.
Bella criticizes so many of the anthems we hear. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
And rightfully so.
Um, yeah. So there was this cool event that a bunch of season ticket holders and some of the media got to be at KXP, and I was like, what the hell is this? Um, and the rain, by the time that this is out, we'll schedule it for like 5 minutes after. Um, the club is announcing a new anthem called Stand Up. It's written produced by local artist Brittany Davis, who you will remember for performing at his halftime, right? At Megan Rapinoe's jersey retirement match. And it was really cool to me at the event, and I think in the short film, there's a short film that accompanies this anthem, directed by award-winning filmmaker Jason Berg, who worked with some pretty important people. I was like, oh, okay, so he's not just some random man that we found. Like, I'm glad that that's the case. Um, Brittany Davis mentioned that Megan made an effort to include her in things, and I think they ate together, and she said, "Oh, you're part of our." She said tribe, and I was like, Megan would say something like that. Like, of course she would. So that was really cool to hear about. But, if you don't know who Brittany Davis is and you're not aware of what the hell I'm talking about, she's a black, blind, and queer artist from the Seattle area. Um, she had a moving rendition of Rise Up by Andra Day, sorry, not Andrea, um, at the halftime performance in collaboration with Sonic Guild. So that was really cool. Usually I just ignore whatever is happening at halftime because it's like, they don't do too much at halftime usually, unless I'm forgetting something. Um,
Bubble
but it
soccer.
was, hmm?
Mostly bubble soccer.
Yeah, okay. I was like, usually it's bubble soccer. Um, it was really cool, this whole anthem. I was a little nervous because infamously, especially in Seattle, American soccer chants and songs don't go very well or they're heavily criticized. The video from way early in the Sounders MLS inception of the fight and win is heavily criticized by European and international soccer fans, understandably so. So it's like kind of beat up because I put it in my bag. When I saw a club anthem, I said, "Oh God, what are we doing?" Um, when I learned it was Brittany Davis, I felt better. Uh, and it's pretty decent. I mean, pretty decent's lowly. I've really enjoyed the beat. The chant aspect is nice. You want to have something to chant along to. If it's too long and complicated, usually Americans can't take care of it very well. Um, And the cool thing is about the recording of the song is that it features some of the Rain players, Hannah Glass, Ryan Brown, Anna Maria Srnagorcevic, and Angrad James Turner, as well as some of the members of the Rain Academy are included in this. Children, quite literally children. Um, they got the Royal Guard and the Rain City Riot involved, Soundwave, the Sounders Band. Um, it's really cool. I remember we got to talk to Hannah Glass at this event. I asked her, I said, "So did you ever think you would be adding some musical talent to your resume when you came to Seattle?" And she kind of point blank said, "No, that was not at all what I thought I'd be doing." So that was really cool. Berg is interesting. He came from Los Angeles to Seattle to direct this. It's a short film. I'm gonna edit in here somewhere. It was put together really well. It was really cool to kind of watch the whole process. Um, to see kind of the whole thing about it when asked about the film because it's like a short documentary, right? He said he just kind of likes to be in the background and capture it that way, and you can tell when you're watching it because they're in the fact that some of the first few frames of them driving around in a car with Brittany Davis, and it looks like he's like squished down into the corner of the seat. I'm like, yeah, bro, you are very much out of the way. Um, yeah, and so this is the anthem's gonna be part of this new tradition. Um, starting on, I think it's every home match when the club comes out, starting on March 15th with the home opener, as it takes out as the official walkout song. They want it to be a new tradition that deepens the connection between players, supporters, amplifying the club's identity on match day. So I say all this. I think I'm gonna put it in right now. I'm gonna pause to put this in right here.
As a blind person, I'm still learning how to navigate the visual. That's why music is so important to me. I see music as little stacks of bubble gum. And each one of the stacks have a height, and each one of them have a different color. All of these stacks of bubblegum pieces in my mind, they all supposed to go in a certain order. That's how I create full canvas paintings of sound. I'm trying to paint something. I remember growing up, I didn't feel like I had a beat or a rhythm that connected with anybody else's. That's what drove me to Seattle. Here, I would find what it means to be home. That's the story I wanted to tell with this song. I want it to be too bright for you to look at, so you stop looking and you listen. I want you to turn your eyes off when you listen to my music. When I was at that game and I saw what Megan stood for and how her comrades came to support her, I don't know how to explain how I felt. Those words are not English yet. I know how to say them, I do, but not in English. It would be an music. It felt like something just picked up my whole heart and sent it past the moon. When I seen those ladies get out there and I heard that horn go off and I heard Rise Up over the loudspeakers, I could have melted. I felt like everybody in that stadium was important to those ladies out there. I felt the power. These experiences with this team have changed me. Oh, this sounds like big trailers. When I was invited to embark on this journey, what really hit me was I wanted it to be something that developed just like our city did. I was thinking if I could keep it big energy, but low key, or even familiar like home. And then that's the story I wanted to tell. How people have experienced this city and how people have experienced each other here. And how the community gathers around the Seattle Reign.
Tight, drums.
When I see how people love this team, how they love each other, how they respect each other, how they value each other, it takes Big Reign energy to another level. That energy is this song. You know what I'm saying? It's big. It's better to be too big than too small. This song is called Stand Up because last time I did Rise Up. So we're saying that stand up is what you do after you rise. It's that I'm here energy. It's show up energy. Powerhouse energy. Champion energy. You can't buy this in the store.
I think what's so special about our community and our fan base and people who follow us is we haven't been a straightforward, easy team to follow.
Utah gets the open! Ball still loose! Ball in the back of the net!
We've really asked a lot of our community and our people to stay with us and stick with us, and they have. We're obviously coming off last year, which was a tough year for this club, but I think we need to build on it because there were really good things.
The locker room was intact, the community was still supporting and behind, the fans still supported and behind, and that looked very joyful to be a part of. And I'm hopeful that we can get the rowdiness up because I think this community deserves something really exciting and something to be proud of.
I think you can feel it in the air, you can feel it at practice every day, you can feel it in how much work everybody is putting in.
We want to get back to being successful, not just getting playoffs. We want to get the Shield, we want to get the championship.
There's something new coming, there's a new wave, and I'm just really excited.
Oh, 3, 4. It's not always about being perfect. Sometimes it's about being connected. Oh, see there? That's it. That's it. See, y'all already pros. Which is why I'm building all these call and responses so that anybody can get in. So what you're gonna hear is everywhere we go, and you just whatever they say, you say it right back.
Everywhere we go.
This is about the community. This is not about how produced we can get this thing. That's what I was feeling. I was like, man, I want to be a kid again. Like, I want to be free again. Like, I want to feel alive again. And that's what this song kind of represents.
Rise up.
That's why we're bringing in different players. Because I really want the heartbeat of the team. And the heartbeat of their fans, friends, family. Rise up. to really go into the bigness of this sound. It's not just about who we're celebrating, but how. Now we're gonna take the stand we deserve to take. That's the beat. No! This is our rally cry. This is our battle cry. Oh, that's nice. Hey, never drown going under. We ain't rain, bring the thunder. We ain't stopping, we ain't going down. We about to be the coldest town. It's about to go home. I'm telling you, I'm not playing, baby. Come on. I love the beat.
When you have ownership of something and when it's so uniquely yours, you have a sense of pride over it. This is a song that's made just for us. It's a song that embodies the community, us as a team. I think everybody's just super excited to get out there and hear it every single game day.
I want the people who hear this song to feel alive. I want them to feel like their hearts and who they are is connected to the birth of this song, because that's the truth. And on game day, when that song pops on and they hear that clap, that stomp, that boom, I want them to feel like a tribe. One house, one stadium, one Seattle. I want them to feel like they are accepted. And now that you're here, that's it right there. We're gonna celebrate you.
Turn it up, turn it up. This ain't a friendly, okay? Locked in, run the match, let's play.
No.
I just like, and I know we talked about this in the original segment, Bella, but especially with resources, but it's cool to have like this dedicated to the club. It's its own thing. It's not this joint venture where the Sounders are included too, right? They're not gonna play that there. Um, I know so often I think we got used to the same song playing, like the do do do, and I'm like, all right, like, or at least in the years past, it was the and I was like, all right, like, let's just come out and hear Bella criticize the anthem, and then we can get going. Um, so I don't know. And then in the Shaney days, they used to play like nap time songs when the away team would get introduced. It was a lot. So it's all that to say that we've taken a jump up, right, in the production. And like you said in the segment itself with the kit and this, like there were so many times it was like a handful of really hardworking people. It's not to put them down at all, but women's sports so often is understaffed, right? And so to see that they're putting in the effort, you've got these people who are part of it, all these people who seem to be with the club, and I'm like, I'm in KHB, I'm like, who are you? Like, because I usually know who the hell is there. Yeah, I guess I want to hear like your experience at the event, hearing from the players involved, hearing from Brittany Davis, because she's a character. She's great. It would have been fun to just like kind of hang around and hear her speak and hear her thoughts on it, because I remember she also mentioned she wanted to be in the room when the players recorded and when the academy players recorded. It wasn't just, hey, record your piece and then I'll come in. So I just like, I want your experience thoughts on the event and then your feelings generally on the fact that we've got a whole mini doc on an anthem, two things we wouldn't have had like under OL.
Yeah, I think the event was, first of all, it was just kind of nice to see all of the players, or at least the ones who weren't on international duty, um, with the club. It was great to see the jersey in person. That was something I had wanted to say earlier. It looks nice in pictures, but in person it looked very nice. Like I was very happy. It looks like something that you can wear around with a pair of jeans and it looks nice. Um, it was a nice atmosphere they had set up. Um, and I think, the documentary I actually I quite enjoyed. I love a good short documentary. And I mean, I think part of why it works so well is because Brittany is such a wonderful character. She is very funny, very um self-aware and open and kind and friendly, and talked a lot about community and inclusivity. And I think there's so much of that comes through when you're talking to her and when you're watching the documentary. Um, it was also, you got some nice clips in there from like Lynn Biondolo talking about why she wanted to be at the club, Jess talking about sort of the values of the club, Emery in there too. Um, and it was just a nice thing to see. I think we've seen more content in general from them this season than we have in previous seasons. I think they kind of bumped it up last season, but I think we've seen even more so far this year. And that had been an area that was lacking in the past. So just having another thing where you get to see player personalities, I think is always great. And I was quite blown away when Brittany originally performed at Megan's jersey retirement ceremony. I thought she was brilliant. I thought the song was really good, and I think, you have to have a certain charisma and presence to be a good performer, and she has it in spades. Like, it is so clear. And you can feel her intentionality behind the song. And I almost feel like the documentary captured more of the club aspect than it captured her song making process, which I thought was really interesting. um, Particularly as a blind artist using like a computer to mix tracks and stuff. Like, you can hear that her keys essentially speak, so that when she hits a key, the computer says what it is. And you would think that would make it difficult to produce a song, but clearly she has no problems. Or not, I don't want to say that, but she is very capable. And I think, for in terms of the song, bless you. Um, in terms of the song itself, I think it's really fun. I love a good horn. Um, and I think it has a really strong beat where people should actually be able to pick it up. I think um, the way that they've sort of included the fans and made it simple enough to understand is great. And I can certainly, see listening to it and getting really hyped. I was a little surprised that there wasn't like a dramatic key change or something at the end where it got a little bit more intense. Um, but I don't know if that's sort of a thing about anthems, to be honest. Like, that's where I'm like, I don't really know what I'm talking about. Um, but I think the the lyrics are good. Britney's sort of rap sections make you kind of like, I mean, really the whole song makes you want to stomp your feet and clap your hands, and that is exactly what you're supposed to do. So I think I just think it's great. I just love seeing this club get investment, and I also love seeing them throughout that investment continuing to stay strong to their values. They very easily could have been like, "Hey, Macklemore, can you make an anthem or something?" And it just be like another white guy doing whatever. And they really, stuck to their values of inclusivity and community building, and finding people who had already been involved with the club in some capacity. Like, not just, hey, we're gonna pay this person who doesn't really care about soccer or show up or know anything about this club to make a thing. They picked someone who talked about how transformative and you know, beautiful the experience of performing at Megan's jersey retirement ceremony was. Like she talked about basically being there and being like, oh, this is something I want to be involved with. Like I love this feeling. Like she couldn't even really describe it in words. It's just wonderful to see.
Yeah, I mean that was the thing. I like that you mentioned that. I love a good horn. Like it's pretty good. Yeah, again, I had my concerns going into this. I was like, oh boy. Like when I found out this was an event for an anthem, I was like, what are we doing? Why? But then you think about it and you know the artist and you hear about how they had this experience with the club and how they enjoyed it and um to just make it more unique, because all of these teams around this area have little things that make them unique, right? And obviously the Reign are trying to get, as mentioned, and you touched on it, like with the part with Lynn, but I looked at the piece with Jess where she says we haven't been an easy club to follow along with, and then they go straight to the Utah match, and I got flashbacks. Ugh. Um, yeah, man. I mean, it's cool. It's really cool, especially considering, the person that Brittany is, the fact that the players are tied into it. Um, you know, like it's nice to have, talk about the investment. So, no, I mean, it's cool. It was nice to have that event, as you mentioned, see the kit in person, because a lot of the times, when p fans, I think, react to a kit, they just go off of the studio shots they get of it, which might not be the most realistic reflections of it, like how they've got it like I'm specifically thinking of the one photo of the new kit where it's like contorted this way, and I'm like, mm, mm, and especially not to talk about men, unfortunately, but
Done. Done.
when the Sounders secondary kits or with the artist kits they've done, right, with Jimi Hendrix, and then they did the Bruce Lee kit. People initially like, why the hell the Sounders don't wear purple? Or with the Bruce Lee kid, the Sounders don't wear red. Like, calm the fuck down, and I need you to see the thought and the intentionality and the message behind it.
The Orlando Pride had a pink primary kit when their color is purple.
Yeah,
And I just need to point that out.
yeah.
Now the pink one is secondary and they have a purple primary. But
The
like it
I
doesn't
didn't
matter.
really get the Louisville.
It looks like St. Patrick's Day to me. I
Really? I
if you
think the
okay,
green's a little deeper.
no. If you look specifically at one of the shots of like the little side stripe,
Okay.
I think it's supposed to be like
Oh,
you see the St. Patrick's Day vibes now?
yeah.
Okay, thank you. Because when I
I
was
had
editing,
just seen the picture of Bethany in it, and I
yeah.
was like, oh,
No, like
green.
as a whole, I mean, it doesn't make sense because their color is supposed to be mint. I my boss at the Equalizer in his story about them sort of uh guessed that they they had basically been made for a different team that didn't want them, and then so they were just like, what's another team that like kind of wears green and may take this kit?
Slap a Louisville logo on that bitch.
Like, you
Oh.
know, kits are all over the place. Really, the only team that like really stuck solidly to their colors would be Kansas City with the teal kit and
Mm,
Orlando with the purple kit.
yeah.
So,
So, yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to, when we got the access to the video to be able to put it in here, I wanted to look at that and then talk about that experience because by the time this comes out, I'm sure they'll have some stuff from that event and they'll talk about it. And I was like, yeah, we were there. I mean, I was there sitting there wondering what the hell was going to happen. And
we were standing, but yeah,
oh, yeah, that's right. We stood the whole time and then my back hurt.
yeah, I
And then we
remember.
went and talked to Scott Parkinson, which we've already talked about in this episode by the time you get to this point. So, well,
Shout
we're
out our
gonna,
favorite bald man.
what'd you say?
Shout out our favorite bald man.
I'm second on your list.
I mean, if it's like a conjoined list and we're like automatically assuming you're not on the list, is what I'll
Okay.
say to make you feel.
I was very offended. All right. We're gonna throw it
You
back
don't
to
have
the
a fun
main.
accent, okay? What can I say?
We're gonna be a real fast team this year. Yeah.
Don't put anything that I don't think you want.
No, that's staying.
It's not
So
a horrible one either.
yes. All right. I'm gonna throw it back to the main recording of
Sorry,
this. So
Scott.
see, send it to Scott. See, hey man, what did you think of this? About this new anthem, which tough. It's funny, Becca, you've got the sun going in just like the kid does.
I
Very
know.
nice. Um,
Sorry, my window's
no,
open.
no, I'm playing onto it. Um, so there's this new anthem, right? And there's this new kit, and it's just really exciting for me because as I feel like a few people said at this event that Bella and I were at, it feels like we've wiped the slate clean in a way. Like last year with the return to the branding, I feel like was supposed to be that. I feel like now we're actually doing it. Like this is more official to me. Becca, again, I'm sorry I don't have that video for you to look at right now, but just with the jersey, like what did you think about the kit? And I don't know how you feel just with the outlook. Because again, you're in your first new year with the Sounders as your owners and that whole Carlisle group and all that. You've damn Oregon logo ruined my day. God damn it. You've got this new kit. They're gonna have an anthem. Like, I don't know. How are you? Like, what do you think of all of this? Like, not really player wise because we've done that, but like new kit, first new full season with new ownership after all the hoopla with OL. And then like having a dedicated anthem to you that a local artist sat down, um, and included players from the club and the club academy in. Like, I don't know. Again, to me, it feels like this is we're stepping into a new era in a way.
Yeah, I agree, and I really love all the stuff that they're doing. I think the kit is awesome. I really like the colors. I think it's a little bit like um imaginative maybe in terms of like what they're trying to put on it. Like I think you mentioned the sun and like maybe the skyliners. Like it's a little hard to like completely visualize everything I think that they want on there, but I do really like the design and I think the colors go really well together. And yeah, I think just all those other things that you mentioned. I I think it's kind of building like they're building more of their own team identity. And I think it's really important, obviously, but it's cool to see them like taking more steps to do so. And I'm excited to see the video whenever I do see it, but I'm sure it'll kind of go with the same things. Yeah, so overall, I'm really excited to see the new additions.
Yeah, we'll get you that. And then Bella, close us out here. Let's get this done. What did you take away from it? Because as someone who's there and obviously has known I'd say you know a good amount about this club. You know, a decent amount. What do you feel about this whole thing and my thoughts maybe on this being a new era?
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, it's sort of what I'm writing for a piece for the Equalizer. Is, the investment from the Sounders has been big, and we didn't necessarily see it immediately. And the players have talked about this. Laura has talked about this. You can't just like immediately shove a bunch of money at stuff and fix the problem, right? They have to think long term. And for me, the anthem is just another example of the new ownership properly investing in this club and giving it the investment it deserves. I think the players recognize that as well. I mean, even the sheer amount of people who were at that event who were working for the Reign. I have, I mean, we've been around the Reign so many times when they have like three people working for them. And it's like their staff was ridiculously small. And it's like, how did you even get anything done? And to see them have proper staffing, proper support, proper, you know, everything, I think is just really wonderful. I think Brittany Davis is hilarious and brilliant and wonderful. And I think you couldn't find a better person to write the anthem. And she exemplifies so many of the founding principles of the club, really. And it was just really nice to see that investment come to fruition when we had so many years of OL and sort of the promise of investment that never really came through.
No.
So, it's a new era and it's also the same era. In some ways it's like a better funded of the original era, which I think, but I think that's the best outcome. I think, you want to stick to the values that this club was founded on, that Jess and Megan and Lou worked so hard, and Laura, can't forget about Laura, worked so hard
I'll tell her you did.
worked so hard to ingrain in this club and everything they stand for. And to just see them get that investment. I mean, Lou talked about it. It means a lot. Like they have deserved it for a long time and now they're finally getting it, and I'm just happy to see that they are getting it.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to end it. It's great to be back. So we've got that. Yeah, when is this there's this friendly, and I highly doubt as someone who's watched the UW soccer games in general, I don't think it's gonna be broadcast anywhere. Oh, the 8th. Do I have something? I'll skip it. Oh. Oh, no. I'll be there. Okay. I'll be there. So I'll
Be
be there
there.
sitting there in the cold UW weather, and we'll figure it out and be able to get that done. Because last year I would think I was flying back from somewhere, so I couldn't be there. I just had a photographer out there. So that'll be fun. We talk about like the club getting better funded, and then they're gonna go play on this terrible quality field at UW. Like I wish UW got an upgrade. It's a bad soccer field.
Yeah, but the
Like
ticket, the ticket money goes towards supporting UW women's soccer and helping them fund their preseason trips. So we
yes.
support
So go there.
collegiate women's soccer clubs when we can.
I'll be there. So, all right. Till we see you, I imagine we'd be back next week. Maybe we do some more. We'll figure it out timing wise.
We don't run
Um,
this.
hmm?
We don't run this, you do.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. Well, anyway, speaking of which, till we see you next time. Take care of yourselves. Be well. Do whatever you can to make today a great day.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, where are you going to watch all the away games for Seattle Reign FC this year?
Away games. Well, since Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports, I was thinking of coming here if that's okay with you.
I think that makes a lot of sense. See y'all here.